Okay, page 17 in your notes, multiplying decimals with patterns. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is that multiplying a decimal by base 10 is all about patterns. Okay, multiplying a decimal by base 10 is all about the pattern. So we need to know that any number times 1 is that number. So the pattern would be all you're doing is moving the decimal. Okay, all you're doing when multiplying by base 10 is moving the decimal. Every time, that's all we're doing is moving the decimal when we multiply by base 10. All right, so a decimal times 10 moves the decimal one place to the right. When we multiply a decimal times 10, we're moving the decimal one place to the right. So move one place right for each 0. Okay, so multiplication is to the right. So let's look at some examples. First, we have 4 5/10 times 1. No 0, so no move. So 1 has no 0 behind it, so it does not move. It stays 4 5/10. Okay, so no 0, no move. Now, let's look at these. 4 5/10 times 10, 4 5/10 times 100, and 4 5/10 times 1,000. So if you look at 4 5/10 times 10, remember what we said. Times 10 moves the decimal one place to the right. So I'm going to take this decimal, I'm going to move it one place to the right, and it is now at the end. So 4 5/10 times 10 equals 45. Okay, you could even say 45.0 if you feel the need to leave the decimal, but you don't have to. The answer is 45. Okay, 4 5/10 times 100. There's 2 zeros in the number 100. So the decimal is going to be moved 2 places to the right. 1, 2. There's my decimal now. So we fill in the hole with a 0. So the answer is 450. Okay, or you can say 450 decimal 0. Both are correct. 450. Okay, 4 5/10 times 1,000. 1,000 has 3 zeros. So we're going to take this decimal and move it 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So there's the decimal now. So I moved one place from in front of the 5 to behind the 5. And then I made 2 more jumps. So there's 1, 2, 3 total jumps. These blank spaces are fillers, and we always use the 0 as the filler. So 4 5/10 times 1,000 is 4,500. And again, you can add the 0 if you need, and the decimal and the 0, but really 4,500 is your answer. Okay? All right, so let's look at some problems on a worksheet. And I'm not going to write on my worksheet because I'm using it for other classes. But what I want you to focus on is the fact that when you multiply by base 10, you move the decimal to the right. So look at number 1. 1 times 13 hundredths is 13 hundredths. It didn't change because 1 does not have a 0. 10 times 13 hundredths. When we multiply by 10, we move the decimal one place. So 0.13, we're going to move the decimal one place to the right, and our answer is 1 3/10. Okay, 100 times 13 times 13 hundredths, we move the decimal 2 places to the right, and it gave us 13. 1,000 has 3 zeros. We move it 1, 2, 3, fill in that hole with a 0, and we get 130. Okay, so look at number 2. What would 100 times 3 14 hundredths equal? What would 100 times 3 14 hundredths equal? Okay, there's 2 zeros, so I'm going to move the decimal 1, 2 places. So it equals 314. Okay, 314. All right, look at number 3. Number 3 says 1 times 42 3/10, and that stayed the same. 10 times 42 3/10 became 423. 100 times 42 3/10 equals 4,230. So I want you to do 1,000, which has 3 zeros, times 42 3/10, and see what you get as your answer. Okay, 3 zeros. So you're going to take that decimal and you're going to move it 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to fill in this hole with a 0, fill in this hole with a 0, and just rewrite my numbers. 4, 2, 3, 0, 0. Go over 3 places and put my comma. 42,300. Okay. So look here. 10 times 7/100, or 7/10, sorry. 10 times 7/10. When you add the, multiply the decimal, you're going to move it to the right, and your answer is going to be what? Your answer is 7. Okay, 100 times 4/10. When you multiply 100 times 4/10, you move the decimal. Okay, two zeros. So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right, once behind the 4, and 1 more space. So my answer is 40. Okay, so it's just patterns that you're looking at, the patterns of 10, base 10. So I want you to look at number 14. It says Rose can walk at a rate of 2 3/10 miles per hour. John can ride his bike at 10 times this rate. How far can John bike in an hour? Okay, so if Rose can walk at a rate of 2 3/10 per hour, and he can go 10 times that, it's 2 3/10 times 10. So you move the decimal 1 place to the right, and he can bike 23 miles an hour. Okay. All right, look at number 15. Rosita can buy 50 recordable media CDs for $21. Now, how much would she need to pay for 500 CDs at the same price? Okay, before you start trying to multiply 21 times 500, I want you to think. She can buy 50 for $21. How much will she need for 500? Okay, so I know that 50 times 10 equals 500, right? Because 5 times 1 is 5, add 2 zeros, that's 500. Which means 50 to 500 is 10 times as much. So we have to look at $21, oops, and she's going to spend 10 times as much. So 21, move the decimal over 1 place. She's going to spend $210 on 500 CDs. Okay, so it's all about the patterns. Okay, make sure that you understand when you multiply the decimals, you're moving it to the right. Multiply to the right. Okay, multiply decimals, move to the right.